Welcome back to Discovering the Jewish Roots. I left you hanging last week purposefully because we were out of time. I want to talk about clustering. And you're going, clustering? Yeah, it's not something you probably talk to a whole lot of friends about, but you're going to love this word and you're going to hold on to it. Here it is. You see, recent Jewish mathematicians have discovered a phenomena that seems to exist within the encoded data of the Torah, the instructions of God, that they have called clustering. Now, where the surface text, what we read in our Bibles, seems to contain information encoded within that text of the same topic, there is underneath the text itself, within the text embedded, is the same topic with groupings or pairs of words as that, the same as that of the surface text. And I'll give you some examples. For example, let's turn to Genesis chapter 1, starting in verse 29, which I promised we were going to look at last week. We're going to look at it now. Take a look at this. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it, they will be yours for food, and to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds of the air, and all the creatures that move on the ground, everything that has breath of life in it. I give every green plant for food, and it was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good, and there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. Rabbit trail, real quick. How many days did God said were good? Do you know? We would assume that it's probably all 7, but that's not the case. There's only one day that God does not make the comment of being tov, or being good. It's the second day. Now, the rabbis surmise that is the day when the angels fell. Kind of interesting. We know the angels did fall, but when? Well, the rabbis give us an answer. It's a pretty good one. Okay, so the conversation in Genesis continues all the way up through Genesis chapter 3, verse 3 with, and I'll give you the statement, you may definitely eat from every tree of the garden, but, that's a big but, it's like a UPS but, don't eat from that one. This plain text in the Hebrew Torah discusses God's activity in creation of speaking forth the existence of trees, of plants, their ability to nourish the first man, the woman, and also the ability to duplicate themselves through the bearing of seeds, right? Yes. Okay. When Eliyahu Rips, famous Israeli mathematician at Hebrew University in Jerusalem, known for his work in geometric group theory, explored the simple text in Genesis, he found that it had amazing information encoded within it. In the very same text that we just read that describes God creating the garden with the trees and the fruit, he found embedded these words. Are you ready? Here we go. Remember, the surface text will match that which is embedded or encoded within it. See if this works. Here's what he found. Barley at a skipping of distance -28, wheat at a skip distance of +5, vine at -18, dates at +5, olive at -9, figs at +14, pomegranates with an 8 skip distance. Okay, what is our Bibles? Well, all I can say is it appears that our Bibles, in fact, are written by the hand of God, and they are much deeper and there's much more content than we ever thought. How many of you ever saw the movie with Jodie Foster? And she hears a sound. Yeah, what was it called? Contact. In Contact, they find that within the initial frequencies that they're picking up of sound, that there's video embedded. They find within the video embedded, there's blueprints embedded within the video, embedded within the audio. This is kind of like that. There's a lot more to the Word of God than what we've been able to pick up so far. Okay, so we find all this information within the same section that talks about these fruit-bearing trees. And so he figures, you know what, if that's the case, then I bet I can find every fruit-bearing tree in Israel in that text. And this is what he found. Wheat, let me see if I have that. Is it all there? Here it is. Wheat at a +5, vine at -18, grapes at -6, chestnut, thicket, date palms, acacia, boxthorn, cedar, pistachio, fig, willow, pomegranate, aloe, tamarisk, oak, poplar, cassia, almond, terebinth, thorn bush, hazel, olive, citron, and gopher wood. All within our Bibles in the same text that talks about what God gave us to be able to eat. You have to step back and go, there's more to this. Our Bibles are not just salvific. They're not just talking about the plan of salvation. This comes from the guy who created the human eye, the guy who spins the planets, who created sunlight, who came up with the whole idea of, he knew we were going to blow it, and he already had it planned out of how he's going to save us from ourselves. That's the God that we come to worship, and that's the God who created the book that we can look and find the plan of salvation in and how to get back to him. So what else might be contained within the text of the Torah? Well, Genesis 46, 3 and 4. You guys still with me? I mean, this is just math. It's not, we just throw our opinions out. This is just math. Genesis chapter 46, starting in verse 3. I am God, the God of your father, he said. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. And I will go down to Egypt with you, and I will surely bring you back again. And Joseph's own hand will close your eyes. So in this text, which describes Israel, going into a foreign nation where they had been brutally treated, held as slaves and captives, we find these words encoded by the skipping of letters. You ready for this? Eichmann, consumed. And this runs through the surface text that we read of a great nation or a great people. This is what's embedded. The name Eichmann, and he or they consumed. At the same skip, in other words, looking at the same rhythm, we find in Auschwitz, which is linked, it crosses the term consumed. So we know they're linked because they cross each other. When they increase the width of the search to 300 letters wide, they find, look at this, a whole sentence by the hand of the SS, and once again they find the term consumed. It can't be coincidence. And it isn't, because the statistical science looked at the way they're doing this and said, after going through it several times and trying to shoot it down, said we have to accept it. I mean, it's math. It's just good math. When the line length and width is changed, another group appears and they cross each other like a jigsaw puzzle. And here's the array and here's the words. Check this out. Eichmann, they or he consumed, a great people, gas, and more specifically, if you know anything about the Holocaust, Zyklon B. And that's the exact gas that they used to kill the Jews in the showers. When the width is changed to 25, a third array appears, and you're going to see these same kind of things. It's Eichmann, they or he consumed, a great people shows up again, and this time 1/3 of my people, and that is how many Jews were killed. And then one last thing in this section, in chapter 10, verse 9 of Genesis, which describes the fierceness of the hunter Nimrod. So that's where we're at within the text. It talks about Nimrod, who's considered the first global leader, right? A new series of arrays appears underneath this one person taking over the planet, fierce guy. He's the hunter, as Genesis says. This is the cluster that appears. All these words together. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord, consumes them, massacre, the term Hitler, the cruel king shows up, Nazi not once but twice, Berlin, in Germany. You know, if it's the first time you've seen this kind of thing, it's almost too much to realize how deep, how rich, how incredible the Bible is. This description of Nimrod is not only that he was a mighty hunter, but that he was the first man of might, is what it says, following after the flood. So he's the first to found and rule an empire, and he was the prototype, of course, of a dictator, which is where we find these arrays showing up. Well, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Messiah, said this in Matthew chapter 5. He said, "Don't think that I have come to abolish the instructions, the Torah, or the prophets, the Nevi'im. I have come not to abolish, but to complete or to make full, to show you how it is when you live it out. Yes, indeed. I tell you that until heaven and earth pass away," pretty sure they're still here, "not so much as a yod or a stroke will pass from the Torah, not until everything that must happen has happened. So whoever disobeys the least of these mitzvot, or these commands, these actions that we have to live out, and teaches others to do so, will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever obeys them and so teaches will be called great in the kingdom of heaven." So, what are the implications? The only implication I can give you is that God knows the future. He knows it. Whenever they try to second guess and look through these encrypted things within the Bible, they get into trouble because it's almost as though you can't use it that way. You can only use it after an event has taken place, and I'm going to show you how that works out. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to jump back in to remind us of what God has said inadvertently, or maybe directly, to the prophets. We're going to look at Daniel again, chapter 12, starting in verse 4, and then jump to verse 9 as well. "But you, Daniel, close up and seal," we looked at this once before, "close up and seal the words of the scroll until the time of the end. Many will go here and there to increase knowledge." Let's go down to verse 9. He replied, "Go your way, Daniel, because the words are closed up and sealed until the time of the end." Now, what I want to look at is the Hebrew word chatham, or chatham, which is an ancient term that means hidden or buried treasure. I just love that. Chatham also means to keep something secret. And in this text, it is to be kept secret until when? To the end of time, to the time of the end. We get that. Okay, moving forward. In the year 1988, 3 renowned mathematicians at Jerusalem University wrote a paper that would be submitted in 1994. They wrote it now in 88, gets submitted finally 6 years later in 94. That Statistical Science Journal published. It's a unique article, and it's entitled "Equidistant Letter Sequences in the Book of Genesis." They went over it and over it. I remember reading the story about this, and they're like, "We're not going to accept this." It's like, it's good math. It's It's good math. So they went over, checked it out again, checked all the equations. Like, you're right, it works. So it rocked the scientific world. It really did. Doctors Doran Whitsom, Eliyahu Rips, and Yoav Rosenberg, good Jewish names, they submitted their findings that with the skipping of letters in the book of Genesis, encrypted information would be found. Who were they inspired by? The guy we talked about last week, and that is Rabbi Michael Weizmandl and his research. And these scientists of advanced mathematics sought to prove the divine authorship of the Hebrew Torah mathematically. Isn't that cool? So they used as their test sample, this is going to blow your mind, the names of the greatest Jewish rabbis throughout history as found in the Encyclopedia of Great Men in Israel. And by the way, in 1989, Professor Harold Gans, brilliant mathematician on his own, who had published over 180 technical papers and who was the senior researcher, let me see, I think I went a little too far, senior researcher and cryptologist for National Security Agency, NSA, wrote an elaborate computer program to verify the results that these guys had come up with. He was skeptic. He wasn't a believer in the Torah codes. He wasn't a believer in this. He wrote the software and he just verified it. He said, it's absolutely true. And now he's a believer in that there's more to the Bible than meets the eye. So last week we looked briefly at the phenomenon called clustering, if you remember, where the surface text bears some significance and likeness to the information found encoded in the surrounding text itself. So now I want to add another term to your vocabulary, and this is really important for research in Torah codes, and it is called pairing. This indicates not only that the section of what is found is significant, but also the close proximity of other terms found are significant as well. So if they appear close to one another, they have to do with the same topic. Makes sense to me. And so the whole lecture that we're going to be looking at now is about this phenomenon. So our three advanced mathematicians did searches for not only 32 of the greatest Jewish rabbis in history, but they looked for the close pairing of some significant bit of information about each of these rabbis. So they plugged into the computers the names of each rabbi paired with either the date of their birth or the date of their death, which is important in Judaism because that's when you celebrate the memory of a person. So mind you, this search was only performed on the 78,064 Hebrew letters in the book of Genesis. So only looking at Genesis, and this is what they found, and why it was peer-reviewed and accepted in Statistical Science Journal 1994, Volume 9, Number 3, pages 429 through 438. Rabbi Avraham Yahaki, Rabbi Avraham Hamalek, Rabbi Avraham Saba, Rabbi Aaron of Carlin, and you go through the list. We're going to 12 and 13 and 14. We're going to go all the way down to 16, but I'm going to have to build another list because they found a total of 32 rabbis linked, not just their names, but either the date of their birth or their death, sometimes even where they ministered. Just crazy cool stuff. The list goes on and on and on. What if they had widened the search to more than just Genesis? What if they had plugged in something else specific about the rabbis? I don't know. But this is what we know, and these are facts, and the scientists said, we accept it. It's true. There's a phenomena going on within the Bible that we never would have guessed. So, not one, not two, not just their names, but either their date of birth, date of death of 32 of the most famous rabbis. Anyways, when you look at this, it's one chance in 775 million that this would take place. In other words, these names and dates were placed in the Bible between 1,500 to 3,400 years in advance by the author on purpose. And it doesn't mess with the text that we read that tells us the plan for our lives. You want to put that in your head? Only God. David said in Psalm 119, 105, the word is a lamp to my feet, a light for my path. In other words, the instructions of God make things otherwise unseeable, seeable, and that which is just ordinary in life to glisten. That's what he's saying. Well, since 1994, the statistical scientists, quantum mathematicians, and other math geeks have found encrypted information in the text of the Torah that boggles the mind. Yet, I think it's probably just the tip of the iceberg. So let's take a look at some of these because you're going to dig it. Found in Genesis using a row length of 5,875 letters is the Hebrew term ketones. In the plain text, our English reads right above this, I have caused greatly to increase. But connected to the term ketones are the following terms. You ready for this? Diabetes, substances, and the term you're going to love this, nounin. Now, if you're like my wife and you know something about medical things, if you know anything about diabetes, then you would know that in 1917, Bernard Nounin first demonstrated the link between diabetes and ketones. The treatment with insulin followed in 1921. How deep does the rabbit hole go? I don't know. But when you change the array, or the area of the Hebrew that you're looking at in Genesis, you find the next array or cluster, and that is diabetes, insulin, and pancreas, and they all appear together. How about Doran Whitson, famous mathematician who researched and found the following in a tight array together in Genesis? Here's the array. He found AIDS, crossing with death, crossing within the blood, crossing from apes, crossing with annihilation, in the form of a virus, the HIV, the immunity destroyed, and many more. Perhaps more optimistically, he also found the phrase in Hebrew which means the end of all diseases. Depends on how you look at that, I guess. Dr. Whitson also found this about a historical event in the Hebrew text of Genesis. He found a murderer with a plus 621 skip, at Sadat, a plus 3800 skip, the 8th of Tishri at a plus 24 skip, but they cross each other in the array, which makes it very interesting. So when they do a research through the book of Genesis for the date, the 8th of Tishri, they find more. What they find is the conspiracy to assassinate Sadat in a parade on the 8th of Tishri by Khaled. These all cross each other. Another array of Genesis has the conspiracy, these all cross now, to assassinate Sadat by the hand of a murderer. There's another array all tightly together on the same topic, having to do, remember, with, here's what they're looking for, the 8th of Tishri, or October 6th. A prince will be shot, a parade, 5742, which by the way is 1981, murdered Sadat, 8th of Tishri, October 6th, a conspiracy, Khaled. Now when they search for the term Khaled, this array shows up, they cross each other, and it's this, Khaled Islambuli. So let's see how close these codes match what took place in history. Egyptian President Anwar Sadat was assassinated on October 6, 1981, the Hebrew calendar date of the 8th of Tishri, at a military parade by the murderer Khaled Islambuli. All right, Exodus 19:7. Let's go to Exodus chapter 19, verse 7. Okay. It says this. So Moses went back and summoned the elders of the people and set before them all the words the Lord had commanded him to speak. I want you to see the authorship, the urgency. This is what I want you to write kind of idea. Exodus 20 verse 1, same concepts. And God spoke all these words. Very clear. I want you to get this. This is what God said, is what he's saying. Exodus 24:4. You see, that's 24:1, 24:4. Moses then wrote down everything the Lord had said. Exodus 24:12. The Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain and stay here. I will give you the tablets of stone with the law and commands I have written for their instruction." Who writes these? The God who created every galaxy, Milky Way, everything that there is, every particle God created. He's the one who wrote it and gave it to him so that they have instructions. Exodus 31:18. When the Lord finished speaking to Moses on Mount Sinai, he gave him the 2 tablets of testimony, the tablets of stone inscribed by the finger of God. Exodus 32:16, the tablets were the work of God, the writing was the writing of God, engraved on the tablets. See, over and over, guys, this wasn't me writing it. It was God, the creator of everything. Exodus 34:27, then the Lord said to Moses, "Write down these words, for in accordance with these words, I have made a covenant with you and with Israel." What does that mean? A brit at this point, a covenant, brit. Brit is, it's a marriage contract. I'll be your God. I'll be the husband. That's why he gets so upset when they're worshiping Baal. Why? Because Baal means husband. He's saying, no, I'm your husband. You're my bride. You're the wife. Don't go after other gods, other husbands. It's amazing. God's plan is absolutely perfect. I'm going to give you one more in this session. The widely recognized Jewish site Aish HaTorah published these foundings by Dr. Doron Whitsom, Eliyahu Rips, Moshe Katz within a short time after the Scuds hit. Remember what was going on in the war with Israel, and they were shooting Scuds over with Saddam Hussein. And when the Scud missiles hit, now this is the array they find. Now these mathematicians, this is going on, the mathematicians dig into the Torah. They find Scuds, which was the missile launched. Russian missile, we find out they are Russian. Saddam Hussein, the 3rd of Shvat, that's when the first Scud hit. Iraq, Saddam, 2nd of Shvat, that's when the war began. Schwarzkopf, America in Saudi Arabia, 57-51, 1991, Scud and Scud B. Rabbi Yeshua, Jesus said this in Matthew 5:18, "I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of a pen will by any means disappear from the instructions of God until everything is accomplished." Amazing. God's word is amazing. And we're talking about these little strokes, little letters, and that is exactly what we're going to be dealing with next week. So don't go away. We're going to see some amazing things like you've never seen before in what's called the commentary of Moses. We'll see you next time. Shalom, shalom.